Well, I figured I'd go ahead and work smarter this time. I'm gonna do the gas tank inside. This is a new clean gas tank, so it ain't gonna stink the house up. This is that new tank from Tanks Inc. So I'm just gonna go ahead and assemble this guy in the house where it's nice and cool. Pretty much all you gotta do is you just take your pump, I guess your pump hat here, and you cut the supply line shorter, which is the math between the total length of the pump versus the depth of the tank. And you subtract that, and the difference you get is what you cut out of here. So that way the nipple from the pump can push up in there. And then take the float, same thing, measure the depth, divide it in half, and then you put your float to where it can measure half tank to where the float's up in the middle of the tank, and then empty and full. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that stuff right now. Then we'll go ahead and slap it in the car. Yeah. That wasn't too bad. Pretty much got that all set up. It's just not really long at all. Maybe took a half hour to do the whole thing. I also got my fittings on. So this is ready to drop in. The pump's ready to go. And got the float good too. So pretty much measure the total depth, and then you set the rotating center. I'm horrible with names if you haven't figured that out. I just know how to do shit. Alright, well anyway, put the pivot point at, pivot point, there we go. I got it right that time. So pivot point goes at 3 1/4 since the total depth is 6 1/2. So then you just measure or set the float to where all the way top. Pretty much all you're worried about is top, because at 6 1/2, that'll go all the way to the bottom. So goods to go. I go ahead and install that now, and then I get my gasket for the filler neck. Get my vent lines hooked up. Put just sucker back in the car. Well, before I put it back in the car, I am going to get my hoses attached and get some pigtails on here. That way I can access them without having to drop the tank again. So, see you guys. Well, today's another day. I had to give Amanda, the fiance, some attention yesterday, so at least I'm finally back on the other sexy beast, turquoise charger. So, I got the gas tank all done, ready to put it in right now. Let me show you. So, it's all plumbed, ready to go. Everything's just coiled up. I had to give a little bit of run, or a little bit of length on the pressure line that would go over the axle into the filter on the frame rail. The return line doesn't need to really be that long. It's just because I'm going to use the return line that I'm going to use on the body is actually the supply line for the carburetor, or for the fuel pump. I mean, the mechanical fuel pump. So since I'm not going to be using a mechanical fuel pump anymore, I'm going to use that 3/8 line as my return, and then I'll just run a whole new pressure line. And then I have my vent, and of course the sending unit, supply wire to the gauge, then the ground wire looped over, tied into the other ground wire for the fuel pump, and then obviously the last one, power for the fuel pump. And which I have already run the turquoise charger for a fuel pump, or electric fuel pump, because I planned on doing this at a later time. I just didn't know it was going to happen sooner than later. So now it's all ready to go in. I got my fuel in, or my filler tube grommet in. It's all insulated, so yeah, ready to go in. All right. Yeah, nothing too exciting about putting a gas tank in except fighting it for a minute. So I'm gonna try not talk during this too much, because I'm probably just gonna end up fast forwarding this. So if I talk, I'm gonna end up sounding like Mickey Mouse, because I don't do a whole lot of editing on these videos. All right, go ahead and lube up the filler tube real quick. Another thing that sucks about doing this on the ground. Oh, you bastard, one of the lines came off. Well, it's in. Now I can move on to finishing up the cooling system. Get that all done. All right. So it'll be easy peasy from here. Oh, what the hell? Oh, it's grease. Oh, I gotta wipe shit down. Getting grease all over my stuff. All right. You know, I'm probably gonna end up having to put air shocks on this thing, especially if I'm gonna put a tow hitch on it. All right. Well, I need to go get some 7/16 fine thread bolts to put some nuts on these shackles. Here she goes. Damn. Is it hot? Is it hot, Sam? It's hot, huh? Oh, Sam. Say hi to everyone, Sammy. Sam, look. Look. See? Sammy, where's your bike? Where's your bike? Go get it. I'm not stupid, you gotta follow me, huh? Well, here's something I had to do real quick. That's the original hole that this water pump had for the temperature sensor. But with the aftermarket AC compressor I have, the stud for this was basically touching the compressor. So I drilled a new hole just to this on the other side of the bolt. So this is now going to be my temperature sensor location. So quick and easy thing, but I had to move it, otherwise I'd never get water temp. Otherwise I'd have to remove the AC compressor every time I want to put the plug on and off, or the all the plug on and off this. So yeah, one more thing. Well, let me go down a little bit lower. There you go, now you can see me. Well, I got the fan shroud in, got the fan on. Just need to tighten the bolts on the fan, on the clutch fan. Got the hose. Everything is coming together, you know, step by step. You know, I could record these little things, you know, like putting a radiator hose on. You know, everybody knows how to put a hose on. So the only thing I do different with the hoses is I like to use good clamps, like the T-bolt clamps. These right here. Actually, let me show you. These guys right here. Let me get my model fingers in there. Here you go. See, look. Ooh, see. Everybody knows what those are. Well, a lot of the performance guys anyway. But really, the only thing special about the hose clamps, I like to use those just because they're stronger, they're better. They don't have that ugly spiral clamp to them. So I'm going to work on getting my... Wait, I got to keep remembering to go low. So I'm going to work on getting my hoses. I'm going to do my heater hoses next. Tighten the clutch fan. And then after that, I am probably going to put the front suspension on. Well, I have the lower control arms on, but I need to put the upper control arms on. Instead of spending, you know, $50 on new upper control arm bolts, I had a bunch of pairs of originals, and to me those are better quality bolts anyway than this Chinese shit. So I put those in yesterday, soaking in Evaporust. So should be pulling them out here in the next 20-30 minutes, clean them up, and it'll be good to bolt on. Evaporust is some amazing stuff. This stuff is awesome. It'll take a rusty bolt, make it come out looking like brand spanking new, along with any other parts you put in it, anything. So, hey, Evaporust should sponsor me. I'm good at using all their fixing a bunch of rusty cars with their stuff. Well, anyways, I'm gonna get to cracking on this thing. So I'm gonna do the stuff I just said. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly do that because it's not really that important. I'll probably do a speed or do a fast forward on putting the heater hoses on, but I'm really looking forward to putting the fast fuel injection on it. That's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna try and get to that today. Probably won't get it done, but I'm gonna get to it. So, alrighty. Finally gonna get started on the exhaust. I'm just having one problem. It's real tight in the engine bay where the nut on top of the the exhaust manifold, the collector. Actually, you know what? Better just show you. All right. So it's kind of hard to get a wrench up in here because you can't go from this direction, can't go from that direction, you can't go from that direction, and you can't go from this direction because the manifold's there. So I know they have specialty nuts with a little I guess side anchor on them or whatever. If you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you know that I suck with the proper names for stuff. Anyways, so to keep from having to use a wrench and swearing as I'm trying to tighten stuff, I'm just going to weld a little stud to the end of this nut so that way it'll rotate, hit the exhaust manifold as I'm tightening the bolt. That way I don't need any I don't have to put a wrench up in there. It'll self-lock itself in place. So nothing crazy, nothing new. I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways to do this, or you can just buy the correct nuts that have that little ear on them. So, ear, there you go. See, you got it right that time. Just a quick and easy way for me to do it. So, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So, let's go ahead and just take a regular bolt, weld it to the top of that nut, and then once that's done, I'll just cut the bolt shorter. Oh yeah. So, normally I like building exhausts, but it's so hot outside right now. Just not looking forward to it. Between the welding and the grinding and the oh well. It's the only way this car's gonna get done. Guy a little shorter. All right, there. Now we got one nut I don't have to put a wrench on, because it'll self-bite or self-bite on the side of the manifold. Now let's do the rest of them. So, well, you saw one. I don't think you want to watch you do all four. Alrighty, now we can finally start doing the piping. Look at that, all polished stainless. Ooh, this underside of this car is gonna look just as pretty as the top. All right, well, I like doing exhaust. I like making the exhaust. I won't buy those exhaust kits, and I won't take my car somewhere to get the exhaust made. I have to do it myself because I'm real picky about how it's routed. It has to be nice and tight. I don't like the exhaust hanging below the frame rails excessively where you can see it from the side of the car. So, but anyways, let me go ahead and show you how those flanges work out. All right, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, there's the nut, and you can see the little stud I welded to the end of it. So yeah, it just spins, catches the end of the manifold, and then now I don't need to put a wrench on that nut no more. I can just zap it up. And the one, let me zoom this out a little bit. Here you go. See, this is just one 90-degree bend, exactly what I have right here. And I got lucky. That side there, I don't have to do anything to it. It fits perfect and the right height. So I can go ahead and start building the exhaust off of that one pipe on the passenger side. The driver's side, however, it's kind of hard to get an image of what I'm trying to show you here, but this manifold is actually almost at a 45-degree angle aiming out towards the side of the car. So what I'll have to do is, I have a 45-degree pipe here. I'll probably have to cut it right at that line. Well, I'll probably have to cut it right there where it starts to turn into the radius, and then I'll have to put that up into there. That way I can at least just get a straight shot. See, this is straight shot to that. And then I'll cut this guy shorter. Probably close where my thumb's at, just to get it at the height I want in the car. So it'll be easier to explain once you see it all happening. Alright, here's my little tech tip on cutting exhaust pipe. When you're trying to make exhaust systems and you want the ends to match up perfectly and you don't want to get left with some oddball cut line. Now, so what you do is, see, the end of the straight ends about right there. And on this side, the end of the straight ends about, oh, right there. So we know in the middle of that is 45 degrees. So, but say I don't want to, and if you have, all right. So that's our end of the straight. Now, if you notice, we have two end of the straights, one here and one there. So if you just draw an imaginary line this way and an imaginary line this way, they're going to intersect. Let me just go ahead and draw that real quick without looking at the camera, because it's kind of, all right. See that little dot? That's my intersection of the two lines. All right, now say, let me move that over just a little bit. There you go, that makes more sense. Say I want to cut it at 45 degrees. So you want to hold the pin in that pivot point. Basically, it'll rotate, hold your fingers right over that, and wherever you want to cut, that is where you're going to want to cut the pipe. So say I want, in the middle of 45 and 0, so that's 22.5 degrees. So we'll just draw a line at 22.5 degrees, and then you just have to kind of imaginary, there we go, just kind of hold the pin over your pivot point and just go straight across. Just get a rough line anyway. Alright, I've been doing this so long I can just freehand it, but you can draw this right there. Alright, you can kind of get the idea. So, there you go, that's the arrow. So the arrow is pointing that way, and when I cut this at 22 degrees, if I just, with the chop saw, if I just cut right across that, that'll keep my pipe perfectly round, because if you cut it at an angle, now you're going to get an oval opening. So, not only that, but I'll be able to you can cut that, and you can take these two joints here, and you can just rotate it a little bit, and then you can weld them back up, and you now just created a multi-curve in whichever direction you need to go around, say, a torsion bar or whatever. So, not very good at explaining stuff, but I'll try and get better at it. Anyway, that's just something, I've been doing exhaust for a while, and I'm just kind of picky about it, like I said, and they have to be, when I build exhaust, there's no gap. I'll be welding these two butts together. There will be zero gap. You can't even slide a piece of paper through it, and I'll weld it up. No, just like I said, just picky. Alrighty, well, go back to work. Alright, this is what's going to come out of my exhaust manifold on the driver's side. As I say, I had to cut that 45 there. That's the piece off of the extension. So that's going to come out of there, because it comes out of the motor at a 45 degree angle. So with this 45, actually, yeah, so with this 45, it's able to run the exhaust straight down. But now this is too long. I don't want to get rid of the slip joint here. See, that's a little bit fatter right there. It's a little step. So that's the expansion. I want to be able to utilize that. So I'm going to cut it and cut up here, bring this up, weld it back up, so then I can take my 90 degree and just slip it up into it. That way I can keep using this. Well, they're cut shorter. Now I just need to weld those two together. So got the TIG welder all set up. I cleaned the tip, ready to go. Start TIGging. Yeah, buddy. Just like a machine did it. It's gonna look sweet on the turquoise Charger. Now that my 45 is shortened up and I kept the slip joint, that'll allow me to go in and out just a, you know, a fraction of an inch or a quarter inch or whatever I need to keep the pipes even on the bottom. So suck this guy up in there, show you what we got so far. All right, so now, I don't know if you can even see that. Oh yeah, there you go. All right, yep, so now my exhaust goes around the starter, around the torsion bar, and then it'll start going out towards the next pipe. So I'm gonna make an X pipe. It looks all nice and pretty in here now. Ooh, stainless is awesome. So now I can go ahead and get that tack welded to the collector. I'm gonna have to bring the MIG welder out here for that though, and just zap it, and then I'll unbolt it, bring it down, TIG it, and then bolt it back up. So at least those pieces are good to go. I wish I could finish it tonight because it's gonna get cooler, but fiance bought movie tickets, and if I blow her off again, she's gonna be pissed. So last time I blew her off to go get a charger, actually, I didn't blow her off. I just was late-ish. So, well, it's hot. Jump in the shower and go get shit ready. Exhaust is gonna be sweet. It's gonna be like the best looking part of the whole car, even though you're never gonna see it. See you guys. Alright, gonna start welding the two pieces together. I kind of screwed up tack welding the flange of the pipe. On this side is a big old ugly goober weld right there, but I had to do that with the MIG welder to get up in there to tack it, and couldn't quite see what I was welding right there, and I got more on the pipe than I wanted to, but oh well, you won't see it up in the car. Plus with the TIG I might be able to smooth it all out, or actually I can probably grind that down and then TIG it, so that's no big deal. We'll never see that. You won't see anything from about here up. You'll see this because there's a little window right there, but no biggie. Same thing on this side, weld that one together. But I need to weld these two pieces together before I can weld the flange on. So, gonna get on it. Alright, go ahead and show you what I'm doing right now. So I got the two welded together. See what I'm having to do right here is, see, that was that tack weld, and that was that tack weld. Yeah, they're ugly boogers, but you can only get the wand, the wire feed wand so far up in there to see what I'm doing, but I'll smooth it out, make it look pretty, just like that little one right there. Those rainbows. Anyways, see how there's a gap right there? Ooh, that's a little hot still. I'm going to weld up where it's touching, and then start hammering out the inside so that way it starts touching the flange. So you can see I'm welding there just to get it started. I'll weld all the way around until it stops touching, then I'll start doing some hammering to get it to where the pipe is touching the flange, then I'll weld that. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's kind of a weld, 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 hammer, hammer, hammer. Weld, 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 hammer, hammer, hammer. Back on it. some pretty shit. Actually, I go over here a little bit. Oh. All right, everything's all welded. Look at the flange. Oh, it's so pretty looking. And then you got my ugly booger tack weld right there, and the ugly booger tack weld right there from the MIG welder. Damn it! If it wasn't for those two things, this thing would be a sexy rainbow all the way around. Oh well. Won't see it anyway. All right, both flanges are welded on. Look at that. I like me some colors. This side's all done. So it's all welded top, middle, and bottom on the 45. So now that can go up in there. So sweet. Put those on the car now and then go from there. Actually, I need to start building the X-pipe. So, yep, I got to take 2 U-bends and cut them, weld them together, make an X-pipe. Actually, you know what? I'll just show you. Well, I had to make some more rainbows. I had to weld a bung in there because I forgot the car is fuel injected. So the fast kit came with a bung. So drill a hole, weld her in. All right, now my collectors are finally done. Now I can bolt them in the car and get started on the X-pipe. X-pipes are awesome. They make the car sound so much better than just individual pipes. Well, to it. Oh, it's late. I'm tired. I'm gonna have to cut this episode short. I started working on the X-pipe. Got the tops of the U-bend cut off. Basically, what I do there is I'll butt them together. Actually, I'll cut the 45 first. So I'll cut I'll cut a 45 on each end, and then I take that pipe where I cut it, and then you rotate it over, so that way it starts creating the nice X-pipe shape. So, but you'll have to stay tuned for the next episode, because I gotta jump on a plane tomorrow, early morning. So I'll finish the exhaust on the next one, and then hopefully get the fast EFI setup done. But getting ready to go to North Dakota and have some fun. Go play. It's not even like I work up there. It's just playing. Except I do get paid for it. Well, some of the times when I'm actually working. Spend too much time playing, or digging for cars, or chargers, or any remote cars, or whatever. Anything cool. Alrighty, well, yeah. As you saw earlier, got the O2 bung welded to that. That's for the fast EFI setup, so that way they put the O2 sensor in it. Yeah, so far I'm loving the decision I made to go with the stainless, because if I would have went with mild steel, it would be ugly, and then you just have to get it ceramic coated, and then the coating doesn't last very long, and it just doesn't look good. So this way, it's all shiny and rainbowy on the welds. So, alrighty, well, like I said, I'm going to cut this episode short. It's going to probably I haven't done any editing on this thing, which I don't really do much editing to these things. They take way too long to edit. So, but in order to keep them at a decent time, like I don't think I'd really want to go over like 40 minutes or something like that. You know, try and edit them down. But I think this video's at that point. Alrighty, well, I think this will probably be brain fart. I'm tired.